They want me to reconstruct the rooms that they died in. Then they can enter our world. The trouble is I don't always know who it is I'm speaking with. It could be some innocent bystander or a victim of a crime or someone else.
Who else, Mrs. Winchester?
Last night, a spirit more powerful than any I've encountered endangered my family. Who are you? Doctor, who do you see in this room at this moment?
Just you.
Only me.
And that's a clip from Winchester, which stars Dame Helen Mirren. Dame Helen, good afternoon. How are you?
Hello.
Very
Don't
nice
call me Dame Helen.
Well, I always think it's
always a bit, it's lovely in certain circumstances,
Yes.
like when I'm getting on to British Airways and they say, welcome Dame Helen.
okay.
But
well, I always think it's a bit like royalty, in as much as I always think it's quite good. You use the title first, and then you can be slightly more casual, depending on how that goes down.
yes, it's funny. In America, they always say Dame Mirren, which of course is completely wrong.
Completely wrong.
It sounds sort of like a pantomime dame, but I don't like to correct them because it's, I don't want them to feel awkward. It is funny that it's only the first name. I don't quite know why that is, but
No, well, I'll just say Helen then.
just say Helen. Yes.
Anyway, welcome to the programme.
Thank you.
So Winchester is it's a one-word title. You are Sarah Winchester. There's a Winchester house. Just explain who you are and where you fit in with this story.
Well, Sarah Winchester is a person from real life. She built a place called the Winchester House. She was the widow of an inheritor of a part of the Winchester fortune. So she became very, very wealthy on the very tragic death of her young husband, and then became a recluse and started building this extraordinary house that still exists in San Jose. Originally, it was way out in the countryside surrounded by olive groves. Now Silicon Valley has overcome it, and it's sort of in the middle of a very sort of upmarket shopping street. But it still exists. You can visit it, and it is the most extraordinary edifice. She built 24 hours a day, 7 days a week for over maybe 30 years. So building, tearing down, building, tearing down. Half of the house was destroyed in the Great San Francisco earthquake. But as I say, it still exists. And it is a very extraordinary warren of strange little rooms and staircases that literally lead nowhere, that doors that lead into the back of cupboards that lead into other rooms. It's just a very, very peculiar house. And many legends grew up around Sarah Winchester when she was building this house. And one of the legends, which is the legend that we go with in the movie, was that she was building the house to placate the spirits of the people who had been killed by the Winchester rifle. I think she did feel she was obviously a very kind-hearted person, and there is a theory that she was a spiritualist. Whether she was or not, I don't know. I could buy the idea that she was racked with guilt with the fact that her massive fortune came on the backs of people's deaths.
And she's in mourning, isn't she? So she's
in
lost
mourning.
her
She
husband.
did lose. This is also true. She lost her young daughter, very young. Her daughter died at the age of 2, her firstborn child, and then very shortly afterwards, as I said, her young husband died. So she was very suddenly bereft. She went from a, wealthy young wife with a beautiful husband and a young daughter to someone with no one. She lost her husband to tuberculosis, which happened a lot in those days. Yes, so she became a recluse, I think, in her sadness. All of that is absolutely accurate.
What genre would you say this is?
I would say this is a ghost movie, a ghost story.
Ghost story.
People
rather
are calling
than a
it
horror story?
rather than a horror story, yes. I would say it's a real old-fashioned ghost story. I would hope in the genre of the great Japanese ghost story movies, the Japanese culture, which is so into not the worship of the dead, or to a certain extent the worship of your ancestors, have a very visceral understanding or feeling about ghosts, and that has been reflected in great ghost movies coming out of Japan.
And it's obviously the perfect place to set a film because it's claimed to be, of course, one of the many houses that claims to be the most haunted house in the world. So that's the angle that you're going down. And I can't imagine anywhere that is more suitable, unless you go to Hampton Court or somewhere, because of the legends which are there? And
Oh,
have been
no,
there
absolutely. It's, much more than Hampton Court because of the basic insanity of the house, Although I have to say, being in the house, you do feel, because it's such an extraordinary environment, it's like a crazy house. In my hometown, my wonderful hometown of Southend-on-Sea, we used to have a little fun fair, and in the little fun fair, Peter Pan's playground, was a thing called the Crazy House. Strange mirrors at the ends of corridors, and, things all went at funny angles. And it is rather like going into the Winchester house. It's a little bit like going into a crazy house.
So you say that there's an insanity to the house. Might she have been insane, or do you...
I think she might have. I mean, one thinks she had to have had some sort of major psychological mental breakdown. But at the same time, she was very beloved, and the people who worked with her never abandoned her and were utterly loyal to her for many, many, many years. So you cannot deny that there was an obsession there, an absolute driving obsession that never stopped for 20 or 30 years.
I would imagine a great character for you to get your teeth into, because some people have an awareness maybe of the story. We'll certainly know about the Winchester rifle. Some people have visited the house, but we don't really know anything about her. So it's like a blank canvas.
It's a bit of a
you.
blank canvas. No, absolutely. I mean, I took it on board because I love the idea of doing a ghost story. I don't believe in ghosts, I have to rapidly add myself. But I do believe in houses having atmospheres. And strangely, I found the atmosphere in the Winchester house to be very benign. It may well be haunted, but there is a sweetness about it. It doesn't have a feeling of cruelty or harshness. There's something quite sweet about it.
And actually, this debate is at the heart of the movie, because Jason Clarke plays the doctor who's coming to the psychiatrist to come and work out whether, in fact,
she is crazy.
Yes.
No, absolutely.
Right.
And whether she should be taken away from having a say on the board of the Winchester rifle. There is a line in the film which says, it's unconscionable to basically sell death to make a profit. I do feel like that myself.
I did wonder, watching the film, whether I thought, okay, this is interesting. It's got like an anti-gun message. It's got an anti-gun, and then by the end of the movie, I wasn't quite so sure whether there was an anti-gun.
No,
message.
I don't think it's necessarily an anti-gun message, although I think it's, well, I guess ultimately it is, because it's an anti-selling arms to make profit. I think that's that is the pain of Sarah Winchester. Of course, she could have given her fortune away. She chose not to do that. That's what I feel. If there is any kind of a message in the movie, it could be that.
Yeah. And very much an American story, obviously, and all filmed in Australia.
Yes. Well, we had two, which is the first time in my experience, well, ever, no, it's unheard of, identical twin brothers of the directors, the Spierig brothers. And that was an experience as well. That added to that sort of vibe of the whole thing. They were wonderful. Yes, it was all, well, we replicated the house in Melbourne, basically.
So you actually hadn't seen the San Jose house until after you'd finished filming?
No,
right?
We did shoot a little bit there, just a little tiny exterior of the house we shot there. But most of it we shot in Melbourne.
What have you made, Helen, of the, what's the right word, convulsion, revolution in the entertainment industry, which has followed in the wake of the Harvey Weinstein revelations? It seems to be...
I think it's been a long time coming. A lot of it, I have to say, I was personally unaware of, but then I would be because I'm too old, because this stuff happens to very young women. They say, time's up. I say, about time. It's about time, time's up. It's taken a long time for us to get here. And I think the very positive element in it is that it spreads far beyond the extraordinary and appalling behaviour, as far as I can make out, of Harvey Weinstein and many others. The discussion has spread so much further, that's what I'm so thrilled about. It is confrontation of why are there not more women in the stories? Why are there not more women's voices being heard telling the stories? The writers, the directors. The magma in the volcano has been, angrily swirling around there for the last 20 or maybe 30 years. And finally, it's exploding out of the volcano.
You said you were unaware of most of it, but you've had your own fair share of inappropriate comments, and many listeners' thoughts will have gone back to the Michael Parkinson interview, which I know was from a different era, but that kind of typifies a lot of the male reaction to actresses at the time.
Yes, actress stroke models. Always, yeah. Yes, no, absolutely. And but the person who got the flack after that interview wasn't Michael; it was me. I was sort of told off for being confrontational or rude. Oh, just in general. I can't remember if at the time there were any newspaper articles or anything or comments, but if there were any comments, it was really saying, what I was, not beloved Parky. And that's absolutely an indication of how difficult it is, because I didn't think I was being radical, or I was just saying it kind of how it was, as far as I could see from my perspective of the world and myself and women and all the rest of it. You would never have asked me that question 10 years ago.
I don't know. I don't think I would. It was the 1970s, and maybe
the 70s, I think, were terrible for women and girls in my profession.
What advice would you give to, and I'm using the word actress here just to make it absolutely specific. Normally the word actor is perfectly fine, but what advice would you give to a young actress sort of thinking, okay, this is my industry, I want to set out here, I wonder how I should go about it?
Play by your own rules. Just play by your own rules. And if your rules dictate one thing, go with that. If they dictate something else, but make sure they're your rules, not someone else's.
Next for you, as far as I can see, is The Nutcracker in the Four Realms. Is that...
No, there's another one.
Is it Anna?
Anna, that's right. Yes, Anna, which is another genre movie. I love genre movies. I love to be in them. I love to watch them. And then The Nutcracker.
And definitely not The Queen
no,
on TV.
No, I don't think so.
That's it.
No. I mean, I admire that series. I think it's fantastic. And all the women who are going to play the Queen are going to be extraordinary, as we've seen already with
Claire
Foy.
Foy's just picked up another award.
She so deserves it. I think it's a beautiful, and to my mind, true expression of her Madge. But no, I go forward, really.
Amazing still that the character of Her Majesty the Queen Elizabeth II of Great Britain, Northern Ireland, is an Oscar-winning role. Claire Foy does it. She's winning. The global fascination with her continues.
Yes, it does, and I think it because of the complexity of her situation, her character within her situation, because her character is one thing, and then her situation is something else, and then the way Elizabeth Windsor, I call her, to take the Queenie thing away, the way that personality has negotiated and dealt with all of the incredible challenges she's had to deal with. It's that makes it an extraordinary role. And that was what Claire, I thought, expressed so beautifully, really beautifully.
Helen Mirren, Dame Helen Mirren, I'm going to go back there. So thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.